يشوفونه. ممكن اللي ما يدري وأول مرة يجي عندنا في تابي، هذه أحد الإيفنتس والمبادرات اللي نقوم فيها كشركة. احنا حابين إن شاء الله أن نستثمر يعني في الكوميونتي السعودي فيما يخص الأمور التقنية. فاليوم عندنا التك توك هذا بالشراكة مع جوجل ديفلوبر جروب، الله يعطيهم العافية. فشكرا لكم، شكرا لحضوركم. بيكون عندنا إن شاء الله 2 workshops. الأول مع جوجل ديفلوبر جروب مع عبد الباسط، وبعد ذلك إن شاء الله نبي ناخذ طلع على كيف الاي قاعد يشتغل اليوم في تابي كشركة مع اور اي ليد دنس. متحمسين جدا، والله يعطيكم العافية على حضوركم، سامحونا على التأخير. without further ado, I see some faces that don't speak Arabic as a first language, so I thought maybe it would be appropriate if I can repeat whatever I said in English. So I just wanted to say thank you guys for coming. It's absolutely a pleasure. And I just wanted to let you know that this is not something that we're not going to do again. This is a repetitive thing that we're doing as a company. We want to invest in the tech scene in Saudi, and bringing you guys along is definitely the key to have this progress and move forward. So this is probably the 5th event that we did, and today we're going to be having this event with collaboration with Google Developer Group. So thanks a lot to them. We're going to look into 2 different talks today. I think it's very interesting because we're looking into AI from Google's side and how to utilize some of Google services in that sense, along with a closer look into AI in Tabby as a company. And this is going to be with our engineer, Dennis. So yeah, I'm pretty excited, and I hope you are too. And it's a pleasure to have you guys. Again, I see some familiar faces, and this is cool. I really love that. Inshallah, we're establishing a very good community in Saudi. And yeah, without further ado, maybe we're playing something, Dennis, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you all. First, we are going to play some zero from people.
Yeah, play good.
I hope there will be a sound. Hello, everyone. No sound on the day. I'm supposed to join the collaboration with Tabby. My name is Vancouver, and I develop relations with Google during the East North Africa, Turkey, and Turkey. It's been a nice pleasure to be with you all today. I'm curious to see the passion minds of Saudi Arabia trying to push boundaries and options. WCAG is a global event series designed by Google to enable developers to take their first steps or the next giant leap into integrating the latest AI advancements from Gemini, Vortex, AI into real-world applications. Beyond today's sessions, I want to encourage you to stay plugged into our ecosystem by joining. Mentioning that a Google developer expert who are here to mentor and support your professional. We have an amazing night today, specifically featuring deep dive sessions from Dennis. You have some insights into the current AI landscape. Of next-gen AI, the tools to explore today are the ones that define the next decade of innovation. I hope you find today's sessions insightful and collaborative, and above all, inspiring. Have fun and best wishes. Thank you. And let's start our workshop.
I think this will work.
This is wonderful.
Okay.
Let's go with keyboards and stuff. I think I need to space icon. Should be right up.
To the right of the should be there.
It's just this. And just show you. So,
It's working, right?
we send to Media. And here, and this one should be.
Okay, yeah. Now we have.
No, it's just.
Yeah. Okay, we can start. Okay, hello everyone. Stand so that. So my name is Abdul Basit, and welcome to the Empowering Apps with the Local Gemma Models for the Privacy First AI. So where we will explore that how, like, what is the AI landscape, and then how, like, what are the LLMs offline models that are available that you can utilize. Then we will look into the overview of the Gemma models, and then we will build an app with Kotlin multi-platform where we will have Android and iOS as a target. And then like a demo that I will go through where I will showcase how you can use that local models. But before we kickstart, so you can avail some tokens or like some credits for the Google Cloud where you can try to experiment with the AI. So if you have laptop or system, so you can try to go on this link, trygcp.dev/claim/ so it will give you $5 credits that you can use and experiment in the cloud. We also have the Vertex AI, so you can use that for the. So go there and try to claim. If you face any issue, do let me know and I will help you out. Yeah, so. The link is the above one, built AI-Tabby. Do we have some Wi-Fi that we can connect to? Yep. Anybody claimed the credits?
Yes.
You're done. Okay, nice. We have the first winner. So, done. Okay. So you should be able to see your credits there, like you put your details there, and then if you go to your billing account, so there below in the credits, so you will see $5 there. So anyone having, okay, all done? Yeah, so we have 5 problems. Done? Okay, nice. This is the link. You can try to do it. Okay, if all done, okay, nice. I think then we can move ahead. So in your Play console, in your Google Cloud Console, here, if you go to the credits, so there you should be able to see the your total amount there. Okay, nice. Okay, so let's start with the AI landscape in our session. So first of all, like, what does artificial intelligence mean? So in artificial intelligence, we try to make machines behave like humans. We want them to think and process the data the same way as a human being, because to process that data. As a human, we take the information, and based on those information, we try to take some actions. And also we have historical data. So in AI, like we try to create something like human, then we have machine learning. So in machine learning, we try to identify the patterns in the data, and based on those patterns, we try to see that if it matches that or not. Normally, you might have seen some machine learning models where they try to identify some apple and ball or bat or like inside the image. So it's based on the historical data. You try to feed them the data, and based on the patterns, they try to tell you that, okay, what's inside the image. Then we have neural networks. So it's basically built on top, like the mechanism is same as human beings. So as a human, we have different neurons, and those neurons, they come together, and based on that, like they try to decide. So different neurons contributes, and then we make decisions. And then we have deep learning. So to those neurons, if you feed a lot of data, so it becomes a deep learning engine. And then we have large language models. So in large language models, basically we try to feed all of the internet to those models, to those neural networks, and then they have all of the context, and based on that, they can make the decision. But if you look into the LLM, so basically these are just the pattern matching machine. So if you are writing any email, anybody got any suggestion that the next word, like when you're writing email. So it's the same thing like with the LLMs but the difference is that they have a lot of data, and based on that, they make predictions. Then we have models. So if you like try to club all of the data together and try to package it, then it becomes a model. Then we have two different types of models. So one is just model, and then we have multi-model model. So multi-model, it basically you can have different types of inputs. So in a single model, we have like this textual input and textual output. But in multi-models, they can process different kind of data. You can give them images, you can give them audio, you can give them text. And just some terminologies in the LLM word. So the measurement or the like we have kilogram. So in the same way, we have token in LLMs models, and this is like based on like how many tokens they can process at a time. Now, what is token? Token is basically a word. So if I told you that the token is, so the token itself is like different models processes it differently, but you can say that one word is just one token for simplicity. And then we have context window. So this is the information the model can consider in just one go. They have some certain limitations, like I think Gemini 3.0, or like it has the highest context window, but apart from that, like some have 128K windows. So I'm not sure how many people here are developers. Can you raise your hand? Okay, and how many people have interacted with Copilot? So recently in the Copilot, if you see, there is a circle in which tells you that, okay, this is the context window. So if you feed a lot of information, it tries to reset, and after sometimes like it cannot remember all of that information. So this is the context window. You feed the information. This is why they say that like whenever you give prompt, so try to compress it or like to the point so that it can process and keep that data in the memory. And now let's talk about offline. So we have offline LLMs, we have like ChatGPT, we have Gemini, we have other models, but why would you go for the offline? Like we have the online and it's up to date and there's like certain features there. So first of all, the privacy. So whenever you put your information onto the internet, so there is no way to delete it, and especially for LLMs. So in LLMs, because these are the pattern matching machine and they just feed the data. Now, even the creator don't know like how this data is going to be used. So once the data is fed into the LLMs, you cannot delete that. So the first is the privacy concern, and it could be some confidential data, like some numbers from your company and like your code. I heard there was like with the ChatGPT, there was Samsung engineer like who uploaded all of its code there, and there were like some tokens and stuff like that. So this is privacy is the first concern. Then we have offline availability. So if you are traveling, or suppose you are in Japan and you want to do some translation, so and you don't have internet, you just landed there. So in that case, you won't be able to utilize the online models. So this is why like the offline, they give you the offline availability. The third thing is the cost. So if you like recently, I was reading somewhere that Uber is like they reserve some money for the AI usage in their code base, but in just 3 months they consume all of the reserve money for the AI. So with offline, it will be zero. And the latency. So like whenever you send the request online, then you get the response. So there is some latency in the between with the back and forth. So with offline LLMs, you can have the instant delivery. So this is the I was talking about the risk that there was some engineer like who leaked the proprietary source code. So with offline LLMs, you won't have this issue. And if you look like to the confidentiality stuff, so 3.1% of the employees like they try to paste some confidential data into the LLMs. 44% of the companies like they do have like some data breach due to the LLMs, and because now a lot of people are trying to use those and build with those, so the risk also increases more. And the black box, so once the model is, the data is there, you cannot delete it. And with the offline LLM, so we get compliance by default because your data is not shared. So the GDPR and the European laws, so they are compliant by default there. And right to be forgotten. So because you cannot delete your user, but if it's local, so you can just wipe that and that's it. Okay, so what they can do, like local models, they are good, they are great, but they also have like some limitations. So they cannot do each and everything. So like they are good in text summarization, classification. If you do some simple reasoning. So they are like very good for that. But if you want to do some complex stuff, so they cannot do that. So the first thing is like the resources availability offline, because you have limited resources, and as compared to the online models, they have more resources available, so they can process more information and the large context because it's small, especially if you're running that on mobile device, so it cannot do much. And heavy multi-step reasoning. So if you want to do like very heavy tasks, so LLM's model, like they will be bad with that. And also the latest information. So if there is something happening recently, so because LLM's model, they have cutoff date, same with offline ones, so they won't be able to give you information related to that. Okay, so now, like if you look into the ChatGPT or Gemini, so these models, those are proprietary. So you cannot like install them or use them offline. But if we look into the Gemma, so Gemma is the basically open source model by Google, and they are open source. Their training data is not open source, but the model itself, it's open source, and you can use that. So it's an open weight model. So basically, like there is bits. We have different weights of the model. So sometimes like you have 32-bit. If you have 32-bit, that's more accurate. If you have 16-bit, then we have 8-bit. Like it's all comes into maths and how they process the data. So if you have more bits, that means it's going to be more refined and more processed data. But if you have this, so it's gonna like it's still going to respond, but it's not going to be that much accurate. And like we have 2B, 7B, and etc. and media pipeline. So media pipeline in SDK that is released by Google, where you can try to load different models, and it makes your the integration easy. Otherwise, you can go with like the core or the vanilla implementation, but it's going to be very difficult. So media pipeline, this is an SDK that you can utilize and try to work with the offline LLMs.
Sorry, can I interrupt you one second? Sorry, just 1 second. Sorry, guys. I think some of you guys want Wi-Fi access, right? Yeah. Okay, it's going to be 5 free uninstall. That's a joke. Okay, 1 second. Sorry. Can I add the password so everyone can? But that's a good previous plan if you think about it. If I get money out of you guys.
It's not going to show. 1 second. Yeah.
Can we use the Tabby today? Can we use Tabby today?
Yeah, why not, right? Pay in full. That's a good answer.
Okay, can you?
1 second. So it's going to be, oops, sorry.
Yep.
It's going to be Tabby guest and the password. Right. So this is the password. But there is no, can you guys see it or no?
Zoom is not going to work in that.
No, hey?
Yes, T_guest.
Yeah, T_guest.
Tabby T capital.
Can I like add it to your slides?
But let me.
Oh yeah.
So what is that? Tabby T capital.
Star underscore. Star bracket.
Let
Close the bracket.
okay.
Okay.
Let me paste it somewhere. Wait.
Are you guys connected? Yes. Okay. Oops. Look at that. Perfect. Okay. So you can highlight. Awesome. Yeah. Is it clear now, guys? Oh, Allah. All right. Cool. Good. Can I continue? Awesome.
Okay.
Just wanted to interrupt you. Perfect. Sorry, guys.
So we have some specialized model for some specific purposes. So we have the geometry, which is like multi-model capabilities, and it's like supported in different sizes. So we have 200 million tokens to 27 billion parameters. So it depends like which one you want to download. It can like vary based on that. Then we have the Gemma 3N. So it's basically designed for the mobile because mobile don't have that much capabilities or computation power. So we have the Gemma 3N, then we have the function Gemma. So in mobile, what you want to do normally is that you want to call functions. Like you want to turn on the torch, same is like Siri or Google Assistant. So if you want to do that, so in that case, we have the Gemma, function Gemma, which is specialized just for function calling. Then we have med Gemma, which is for the medical purposes. So if you want to feed some medical information there, you want the analysis of the X-ray, so you can feed it there. And it can process images and text. And these are the different bits. So we have the Gemma 3, which is 270 million, and it has like 400 MB size, and it's 4-bit. Then we have the Gemma 3, 27 billion, which is like which is 21 GB. So if you have device, more system device, so you can run that one. Because on mobile you would won't have like, even you have that much space, it won't be able to load that because it needs good GPU and also CPU. Okay, so let's start with the media pipeline. So as I mentioned, that this is an SDK from Google that you can use, and apart from the loading the LLMs, you can do different stuff with it. So if you go to the Media Pipe Studio, if you have the connection, so if you search that, there you will find different use cases that they have implemented. Like we have vision, we have image classification, image segmentation, interaction, gesture recognition. So recently I was seeing a very cool demo, someone with the build with AI during the workshop. So with the gestures, they were able to control the game and like move forward or backward. So these are the different features or the different functionalities that you can achieve with media pipeline. Yeah, just search Media Pipeline Studio and Google will give you the link. Yeah, in the Google Chrome, like web. Yep. So these are the demos that are already available, and you can have a look. Like we have a lot of stuff there. Okay, so let's talk about then SDK, why we want to use that and like what's the purpose of that. So for Media Pipeline, it's multi-platform. So it supports Android, iOS, and web. So if you want to build an app which is targeted toward web or iOS or Android, so you can leverage the Media Pipeline, and it's very, very easy to implement. If I show you the implementation, it's just 2 or 3 lines. So it's that easy that you can integrate the LLMs models. So first, you have to download the LLM model because we are going to be using the offline one. So first you download that, you save that in your mobile memory, and then later we will try to load that. So if you go to Hugging Face, so this is the website that you can go to, and there you search the lighter LM. So those are the models that are specifically curated towards the mobile devices. So go to huggingface.com and go there. So the Gemma TN, this is the model that we are going to be downloading. So it's around 1.4 GB or something like that. So This one, Gemma. Yeah, the first one. Anyone able to download? I think you have to log in there and there's some process, but it's Gemma 3 nano and yeah, E4BIT. Yes, you have to log into K. Yep. Yes, then search for it. Yeah. Maybe I can see. I think the Zoom is not working, but yes, Gamma 3. That one. Yeah. Then you have to device. There is connection, or maybe if you can like we can, because it needs to exist on the mobile, because this is from where we will be trying to load that. Yes, if you can drop it or directly download on your mobile device, so that is nice. Yeah, that will also work. So I'm not sure if each gallery exposes those models, but you can try to download from there. Say we have rate limit use. 429. 429. Ah. Okay, should we move ahead? Okay. So how many people have Android Studio installed? Okay, nice. Okay, so what you can do in Android Studio is that you can try to create a new project, or you can go for the existing project, but this is the dependency that we have for the media pipeline. So via media pipeline, we will be trying to load the models. So this is the repository that I have already created. So you can just go on this link and try to clone the repository. So in that repository, we have all of the implementation already there. You can either go for the QR code. So in case somebody doesn't know, so you go there, click on the code and like copy this and just try to git clone, and you should be able to do that. Ah. Anyone clone the repository? Ah, nice. If you need some help, maybe you guys can need somebody need any help? Okay. So this is the dependency that you have to add, and once you add that, so you will have the capabilities where you can use this for leveraging the offline models. So first you have to create a task option. So this is the SDK code. So here you set the model path where your model resides. So because you have downloaded that model locally, so you can just look into the path, and here you can set that, like what's the path for the models, and then you create the LLM inference instance. Once you create that, you can give, like just with that LLM inference, you can ask to generate a response with your prompt, and that's it. It's that much easy to load the offline models. And because this, I'm not sure if they support the desktop version, but for the Android, iOS, and web, so that is available, and you can leverage this SDK. So this is for the Android setup. And if we look into the iOS, so you have to, who is iOS developer here? Only one. Okay. Flutter. Okay. I think this is also available for Flutter, I think, or there was another from Sasha who created a wrapper kind of around that, so you can also use that. But for iOS, you just have to add the pods, and that should be it.
Back one more.
Yep. Yep. So there are different configurations that you can give to that SDK. So the first is the model path that you have to give where model resides and your local device. Then we have the token that like what is the max value that you can give to those tokens. Then we have top key. It's like kind of you can say that controlling the temperature. So temperature is basically how predictable you want the LLMs to be. And then we have the random seed. So whenever you are doing text generation, so how much like you want it to variate or like deviate from the existing. And then we have the LoRa path. I think this is some GPU stuff. And if you're doing that with the KMP, so in KMP, we try to leverage the expect actual mechanism. So in expect, in actual, it's works same as an interface with multiple implementations. So you just declare an expect function, and then you try to do implementation on both sides, on Android and iOS. So here is the basically the actual implementation that we have on Android side. So if you look here, we have the actual class that we have implemented. And then we are trying to like, first of all, resolve the path that where model resides. Then we set the max token and we try to build the build or LLM inference with those options. And once you get that instance, that's it. And then you can ask like here, if you can, we have this function, which is called generate response. So here we give the prompt to that and we just ask it like, okay, get the response. So that's, this is how you input your data into the, to the models. And based on that, you will get the stream of the data. So there are two ways that you can get the data. First is like, okay, process all of the data and then give me the response. Other is like streaming of the data. Like, if you ask some question in ChatGPT or Gemini, you will see that you see some dots and the message starts to expand. So you can do the same thing here. And this is the implementation on the iOS side. So it's same, like we are trying to resolve the path. Once we resolve, then we try to set the options. And then we try to load the model and ask it some questions. So I wanted to show the offline demo, but I will show that in a bit because there's just minor tweak that I have to do, and then I will be able to showcase that. But function calling with offline AI. So as I mentioned earlier that we have offline AI, but if it's not up to date or if it doesn't have the latest information, so you are losing a lot of the capabilities. So with the function calling, we can leverage that and try to make our local models aware of the external or the recent events that are happening. So we can do function calling. And basically, if you look into function calling, it's like the like if you ask Gemini weather, like what's today weather, or if some events happen today, so they cannot know about it because there is some cutoff date. There is some information that is fed it to them, data fed it to them, and after that they lose the latest. They don't have the latest information. So for that we use function calling. If you ask it for weather, so it cannot tell you about the weather because it has the data which is 6 months old, which is 3 months old. So via function calling, you can try to make use of the external environment. And this is how you do that. Like if you ask the local models that, okay, what is the weather today? So it cannot know about weather, but you can add those capabilities. So you will do your own API implementation and you will provide that capability to the model that, okay, if you need weather, so you need to give me the latitude, longitude, or give me the city name. And based on that, you give me that, I will make the request myself. I will try to leverage some API and I will give you the data. And then that data, you can use it and try to show the information in a good pattern. So this is what function calling do. And if you look into the function calling, so there is an SDK for that already available by Google, but it works only for Android. It's not available for iOS. So this is the SDK that you can use for Android. And it's, hello? Okay, nice. Yeah. Okay, so this is for the tools that, like, if you declare that okay, this is the get weather function that I need to call, and then you can make the API call here. But in this case, we are trying to like return just some local data. So you call that, and you then these functions that you, I think its battery is gone. Okay, nice. So you give the name, the description, and the parameters. As I mentioned that if you want to fetch the weather, so you need to give that latitude, longitude, and what is the description. This is how they are able to identify that I have this capability. So here we have a get weather function, like we set the name of it, we set the description for that, we set the parameters that, okay, what will be the input for that. So we ask it that it should be a location, and then we give like there is another one for the time. So if you need to fetch time, what is the latest time today? So there is another function for that, but it's like just giving you the just an example, like how you can leverage those. And prompt engineering, yep. Okay, now because the function calling, it's available only for Android, but not for iOS. So how you can do that? So you can leverage the prompt here. So in your prompt, you can add some tokens or like some delimiters or some way to identify that, okay, this is a function call. So here, what's the weather today in Tokyo, right? So it can tell you once you in the prompt, in your system prompt, you can ask it that, okay, if you get or if somebody asks you about weather, this is the description and this is the tool that is available to you. And then based on some string manipulation, you can try to extract the data or the function call from there, and then you can process it. So in the demo, you will see that there is some functions that are already available, like we have the get current tool, we have the open URL. So this one, the toggle torch ones. For example, if you ask your LLM to turn on or off the mobile torch. So here we have the name, we have the description, like, okay, this is the what it does. And then we have the different properties that we are going to be sending to our code that, okay, try to toggle the torch. So this is how you can leverage that. So these are the different links that you can use. I think we will share the slides with you. So based on that, you can do that. But there is an app called Edge Gallery app. So in the Edge Gallery, there is like the LLMs models that we discussed. So they are already available. And in this app, you can get all of the capabilities like out of the box. So they have the image stuff. They like if you want to translate some images, so they have all that there. They also have the textual, like if you want to do some talking with the LLM models, so it also have that. But again, the LLMs model, especially for mobile, it's not that much you can say that advanced, and they have just some specific capabilities, like, okay, if you want to do some translation of the image, they can do that. If you want to some text summarization, they can also do that. But like for complex stuff, so they are still not that much capable. So I think these, yep. So we will share these links with you. And that was about it. We will do the workshop. If somebody has system and if they want to set up that, so I will help you with those and the repositories and each and everything. But that was it. So thank you, everyone. If you have any question or anything, so these are the links for my LinkedIn and Twitter. So just drop me a message and we can jump on a meet call or.
You tried agent that they haven't been
I didn't try that, but I think recently they enabled that for all of the Chrome, right? Like the models will be available by default. So
no one can hear it. I can repeat your questions. No,
yeah,
just repeat it.
okay. So basically, the question was that, like, have you tried the offline LM models in the Chrome, right? Chrome or Edge?
agent skills, the Gamma 4,
Okay.
one of the models in
Oh, okay, the Edge gallery. Oh, okay, I tried that like 3 months before, and the result was somehow like okay with its translation. It was good, but with if like you ask if some more information, then it's like okay, I don't know. There was another some custom implementation of that. Somebody did that. It was very interesting. I will also share that with you, but I didn't try the latest one. Any other question?
Thank you so much for the presentation. For the offline models, like in general, with any model, what is the best efficiency that we can reach compared to the cloud? Like if we take some implementation, like we use the MCP servers for searching online, or maybe we did the post training, which the best efficiency that we can.
Yeah, so the question is like with offline models, what is the best efficiency that you can have as compared to the other models? So maybe Dennis can answer that because the efficiency between the offline models and online, like how?
Yes, the user of that. So I actually didn't try the small Gemma models, but we use the Gemma 4, the biggest one in production, and we are very happy with that because yeah, it has a very decent quality. I think it's comparable with for some tasks. It's comparable for the biggest and best cloud models. And also it's quite small. It can run on only one GPU, big GPU, not like on your computers, but I mean B200, NVIDIA B200, for example. And it serves a lot of traffic. We compared Gemma 4 with the with the Grand actually, is the best model. And the throughput of Gemma 4 for our task was like 3 times better. So it's the biggest Gemma 4 model is very efficient both in quality and in throughput. But I don't know about the small models, but I think they are different.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay, I think the battery went also. Okay.
Can you deploy schema setting to install some plugs in all crash? This you can have resources for this particular line. This will I say if I don't need you have resources
You mean like how much resources you need for running that?
Yes, I need to go to the site state environment.
Mm-hmm.
Something code crash, employment something going
Okay. So the question is that, like, if I have an offline LLM models and I want to solve some bugs and some coding problems, right? So how many resources, or like if I will be able to deploy that via Kubernetes or not? Yes. Again, Dennis can answer that because he has experience with the large language models in production and that. But I think we have a thing called ADK, Google ADK, which you can leverage in like multiple models concurrently, but it's not offline. Maybe somehow you can mate it, but to her sense.
Yeah, on this question, since you mentioned the decay, I would only recommend decay because it's a very decent agentic engine. It's can be scalable. It doesn't need a lot of resources actually. If you're talking about this, and you can use it. It's very fast growing open source, or the very important record. Is it okay for the question? Okay.
Also, we have the Google AI Studio. So I think Google also provides services for the open source model. So maybe like they are less expensive as compared to the closed source one. So you can also use that.
I would like to ask about the again.
So I can.
So I want to ask about the gamma. You try to connect it to our access and we vector database or something like that. And how did it respond? Which one did you use and how was the response?
Sorry for your gamma. So actually about gamma, I didn't try to use it inside RAR. I tried to use some tools, but not RAR tool. For the RAR things, I probably tried to use actually the 3.5, the biggest one, the 197 gigabytes. It's a lot more than gamma. So it's quite, in my opinion, quite a little bit better with the genetic task, but gamma is quite more effective in different other tasks. You can try, and I think it's if you have this quality, it works.
So whenever we use offline model, like even the ML, the app size increase. So is it even practical to use the offline AI model?
So it depends, like what you want to do with that, right? Like if you are traveling somewhere and you need offline capabilities, right? So you want to like unblock yourself, and like if somehow you have something, right, that you can leverage and to do stuff like. So in that case, it makes sense, but like, and also the space is not that much. Like the Gemma is, I think it's around 1.4 GB or something like that, and the maximum it's 4 GB. Yeah, so it will increase, and also you cannot bundle that with APK, right? Because I think the max is 250 or something like that, and it's gonna add 1.4 GB. So if you look into the Edge Gallery app or the others, so what they do is that after that they try to download the models and then try to load those. So you can use that, but you will be needing those. Like if you want text, quickly text summarization, or you are traveling somewhere, but you cannot read the signboards, right? So it's a quick way to do some like small stuff. So in that case, yeah, I think it's okay. And also with some, like if you look into the Google Pixel, right? So I think it also comes with some offline capabilities that you can use.
Whenever we use ML or something to some tool like that, the app size increase by 10 to 50 MB. So
yes, so it's basically the engine that you need, right? And I think MLKit is like the size is 5 MB for the if you just want to identify barcode and stuff like that. But with the more capabilities, like I showed you, there are multiple things that like gesture detection and text identification. Then there was some like segmentation. So if you need that capabilities, then size gonna be increased.
So is there any support for media?
Yeah, it's
Is it on?
yeah.
So is there any support available for hybrid developers like Flutter, or will we have to go to native development, either Android or iOS?
Yeah, so the SDK, it only supports like the native side, but I think Sasha, there's a Flutter dev, so he created a library for that. So I think you can do that. I checked some time before, so there was, I think, nothing available, or maybe I don't know about that. But like you can leverage either that SDK, and if that is not the case, then you can move towards the media pipeline and Flutter channels and stuff like that. You can try to leverage it.
Second thing is, so whenever we use a model, will it download directly on the device, like on runtime? Maybe it try to load the model when we download the application. Like will it download on the device, or will it be like?
Yeah, so the question is that like if you want to download the model, so it's gonna be like on the app or like with the APK, right? That's your question. So with the APK, you cannot bundle that because then the size is gonna be very huge. And I was trying to like do the stuff that okay, if we can bundle that with APK or not, but there is limitation even on the Play console. So if you try to upload the APK, there is I think 1 GB or 500 MB limitation that your APK size should not exceed that. So if you look into the app, the games, right? So what they do is that first they install the APK, and after that they try to download the extra stuff. So I think the best approach here would be like, okay, you have an app, and after that you try to download different models, and you can try with different like there is 4 billion, the 4 billion token one, then we have the small one. So maybe, and there is also third party that you go for Olama or some other open source model. So it's better that you have those capabilities there that you can download any model and just load it. Thank you. With production apps, I think if there is an image which try to do some identification, in that case it will be available, but not in app that I am available. But if you want to just try to like see the offline models, so we have the AI Edge Gallery app available on the Play Store, and it's also on iOS. So you can use that and try to see the capabilities. So the AI Edge Gallery app. No, so it's like the same app that we were trying to develop. So you can chat with it, you can give it images, you can do some translation with that. So it has like all of the capabilities built in. And under the hood, like you have to download a model. I think there are 3 to 4 available by default, but if you want to add your custom, you can also do that. So it's in the app, you can. Yeah, so you have to download that manually. Like once you download the app, then you will see that, okay, now I want to download the model. Yeah. Any other question?
Did you try it with end or any information? Any of the models?
Okay, so the question is that if I use the Gemma with any automation, right? So no, I haven't used that. And if I tell you about the local, like the Gemma has different variations, right? So if you look into the mobile one, so it's very bad even. Like I would say that if you, even within the textual, if you extended some specific tokens, then it's like, forget about it. Like it gives you that, okay, I couldn't understand you and stuff like that. So it doesn't have that much capabilities, but as Dennis mentioned that if you have that model and the major one, I think it's 21 MB or GB, something size like that. The Gemma model of like.
For Gemma, 31 is the biggest.
Yeah, 31. So if you have that, so Dennis was mentioning that like we are seeing some good results with that, right? Even like more than the proprietary model. So we can use that. But at the same time, I think you need some very good resources. Like in your device, you cannot run that. Okay. Thank you everyone again for joining. I hope you got to learn something from that. So thank you so much.
You wanted to do
Yes, I wanted to do the workshop, but we will see that if people they have already the setup ready, the Android Studio and stuff like that, so we can go to them and try to.
how much time?
It's gonna be take much time, so I think your session is gonna start in 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, if it's appropriate, yes, and you want to do workshop?
No, so we can cancel that because it's gonna take too much time, and you need all of the setup, like you need the tools, and then it's all.
Okay.
It's gonna be too much.
Okay, so let's.
Yeah, so we can take break and then.
Yes, so.
Yep.
If it starts after break, you'll start my session, right?
You will start your session. Yes.
Okay. So guys, thank you for everything, for participation and so on. We have our next session. It will be about how Tabby uses AI agents, AI job. What does it use as a nature from a model that Tabby used in our different agents and so on. So it will be next for like 30 to 40 minutes. And after that, we'll give you our match. If we have a lottery, and we will give you our match. It's no secret, it's like better or something like that. So no secret in it, but if you want them, participate in our lottery after my talk. So we'll have 10, let's better have 15 minutes break, and you can have food, take restroom and so on, and return to the presentation. And thank you for your attention, everyone.
So I'm Denis Akhnov. I'm head of AI platform in Tabby. We are building an agents, and we are trying to build a platform and to make Tabby really Tabby to work really good with AI all across the company. And today we'll speak about this. And most of the agents I will talk about today are working in production, mostly in UAE, but we will scale, I think, them to Saudi in some time. And first of all, let's speak what are agents used for. Actually, AI in production, I think, can be separated in 3 groups. First of all, it's automatization of operations. It's most easy to implement group. There are a lot of value and money in it. And it's about when you have a lot of operations. For example, in fintech have a lot of operations, working with customers, working with KIC, KIB, and so on. So you have a lot of processing. And most of this processing can be automated, and most of it can be automated with LLMs and with AI agents. And this is the first thing. Second thing is like every one of us uses some LLMs to code or to research or to write analytic requests and so on. So implementation of AI in companies to achieve a good productivity in creating products is a very important goal. But it's not very easy to build an effective system because you always lack some knowledge of your system. It's not documented proper enough. You need to modify all your processes to work good with automations of development, of software development, and you need to for everyone to learn how to use it. So to implement it in company isn't an easy task at all. But it's the second group. It's one of the most effective because if you do all of this, your productivity can increase several times. And the third group is then in your product, AI is center and heart and brain, of course, of the product. It's for some new AI-centered products. For example, you have new AI agents who will do bookkeeping for you or something like that. So it's only about so all the products is AI. So it's the first type of agents. And I will share some examples. It's of course not every agent in Tabby, but it's one of the most important agents for us. So the first thing I will share you is a customer support agent. It's a very complex system actually, which gets a message from customer. Think about it, use some tools to look information, to check history of customer, and to check his products and so on. And maybe it tries to use also some actions for customer, of course, with approval of human agent. It's very important. Specialist should approve it. Then it answers the customer. The complexity of the system is its customer. It knows a lot about customer. It has to use a lot of tools. It has to use a lot of skills. And it's quite a complex agent, of course. And also working in fintech and regulated environments. And to be effective in it, it's also a task. And all this system is on-premise, working on our servers. And of course, it uses only on-premise LLMs, which is quite an important and which is also a task because Of course, Gemma is very good model. We use it. Qwen 3.5 is very decent too. They are open source, we can use it and so on using our hardware. But the best models are, of course, cloud models. And the trick here is we can't use it because we need to be very compliant. We need to use our data very carefully, and all the infrastructure should be internal. So it's the task too. Okay. Wait a minute. Second agent I want to share with you is an anti-fraud. It's also a task for customer processing. It requires a human oversee, of course, and it does the same task as customer support, actually. The same in matter, it uses some tools to look up information about customer, about his last transactions, about products he owns, and after it decides, using some complex rules, whether it was a fraud or not. If it was a fraud, who will be responsible for that, customer or some fraudster or who? And of course, it gives the reason. And every time it works, after that, a human agent checks the result, tries to, human agent also checks the data this agent created and gathered, and does its own decision or checks it again and does the different decision. And this agent is also complex. It works for several minutes, actually, and it does a lot of processing. And it works on real cases, of course, and also on-prem. And we have a lot of agents. Actually, this is a screenshot for our agent platform, a lot of workspaces you see. And to be able to create so many agents, people need to actually be not only engineers. And let's ask some important question. Who should build an agent? Is it software engineer or domain specialist? Not engineering domain specialist, some owner of the process. There is pros and cons for every approach. If you're talking about AI engineers, we are, of course, very system thinking. We can code, we can architect an agent, and we can evaluate it quite easier than not tech guys. But there are some cons to that, and the main con is we are far from domain. I'm not a customer support specialist, and I'm not an anti-fraud specialist. So I lack this knowledge about the domain the specialists have. But if we are talking about domain experts, they own the workflow, they own the domain, and they have knowledge. They just need to pass it to an agent. But the problem is they also lack this system knowledge, and they often don't know how to build this agent. So there are pros and cons for every aspect, and what do we need to do? We need to glue somehow with both of approaches, and we build a platform to do this. So we were trying to solve several things. Of course, if we will give such an instrument to non-tech guys, we should be very secure. All these platforms work on-prem, of course. All the models they can access are on-prem. And if some customer specialist would try to use some restricted data, we should be prohibited. So it's a very regulated question, and we need to work very precisely. Also, this will solve the question: how do we glue with engineering specialists and non-tech guys? We can ask engineers to build some stuff for an agent, and after that, for non-tech guys to iterate these prompts, these skills, to implement it on their own. And this platform is actually enough, especially in our times, in this year, because we have a democratization of code. Because we have code, we can code, we can create agents with AI tools. And let's go deeper into our AI agent platform. We have several pillars of it. We have infrastructure for tooling, which is very important, because without tools, agent is nothing. We have a visual and non-visual builder, which allows non-tech guys to build an agent from scratch or copy other agent and iterate on that using different prompts and tools and so on. Very important, we have an evaluator, which allows people to evaluate their requests on a big data set and allows people to create data sets. And without platform, people would forget to do this. And it will ruin your production. And of course, fourth pillar in this is LLM infra. We need our internal LLMs to work with our platform. And we need some router to route requests. And actually, there are some complexity, because when we are talking about routing into cloud, you just make a request and have your answer. Of course, when you're working with cloud, there are some probability of downtime. And actually, this probability of downtime is very high. But still, everything is solved for you. But when we are talking about internal LLMs running on internal GPUs in internal servers, you need to solve this thing about routing of requests, about caching, and so on. First thing is builder. It's a screenshot from one of our agents. And it's a visual builder with blocks, with sub-agents. How it works? It has both deterministic tools, just deterministic agents, just tools, and deterministic processing of the results of such tools. They have n agents using some tools. You can read that. It's bad screenshot, but still, yeah. You can prompt here. Actually, you can prompt here. Here's an example how you can prompt. You can use different models. You can use different tools, and there are a lot of tools. Actually, it's a group of tools on the screenshot. Inside there are several tools. Inside each there are several tools. So actually, it's a visual builder, and if you are talking about tool, it's quite an important thing. You saw on the previous screenshots, there are a lot of tools. And it is because without tools, agent is nothing. It's like eyes and hands of your agent. All the agentic part is when you make a request to LLM, have some info, what it needs to do, and use after that some tools. And after that, make another request to LLM. What do we do with the result of these tools? And it's a loop. It's a so-called React loop. But the agent is all about this loop. Without it, it's just a request to LLM. And it's not so effective. And not a request to LLM is doing this, not just a request to LLM is doing this agentic revolution today. So it's very important to prepare infrastructure of all of your company to be used by an agent. You need to have proper APIs. You need to have somewhere to have MCP servers. And of course, you need for these APIs to return not a lot of data, without some garbage data and so on, because when you return like a lot of data and only 1% of it makes sense for your agent, it won't work properly because you need to filter somehow without increasing your context. Third thing is evaluator. It's some tricky thing actually, because your agent would work without it. And you can even try on several examples, not evaluating your agent, but it will work good on several examples, but then you ship it to production and your production is failed, you lose money and so on. To properly test it, you need a big data set. It's quite an example of data set, it's an example of golden data set. After that, we run something on the data set. We run an agent on the data set. We have several examples of how it can be done. And we will have a quality on each run. We zoom with quality on the each run. And after that, we can talk about quality on the whole data set. Here on the example are the small data sets, like 200 examples, and very bad quality. You see a lot of failed requests. So it's no go. And how do we measure this quality? We measure this with LLM search. Because when you have open-ended question, for example, in chat, or even if you are talking about anti-fraud agent, it has structured data. Fraud or not, it's only classification, but it's also have a description why it was fraud. And we need also to check the result of this description. So we need to check was the result of anti-fraud, for example, agent the same as human, because human owns the domain, for example. And we need to check this very often, because if you iterate on the agent, you will do some changes. After that, you run evaluation. After that, you check the result. And after that, you fix and again run evaluation. You can do it with like 100 or 200 cycles if your agent is important and the quality is important for you. So it will be very problematic if on every cycle you need to watch the result. So LLM as judge is crucial for this agent, and it's crucial when we are working on the quality of an agent. And it's to build this LLM as judge is also a task. And also there is a question how to judge a judge. Was it worked this properly or not? Because if your LLM judge works random, it's not a good thing. Okay, and the last thing is internal element fra. So we need to be fully on premise. We need to use several on-premise LLMs working on our servers. And there are a lot of questions how to use them effectively. For example, we had an issue. We were working with some LLM model with several instances. And we started to use some agent. We added one instance, it worked okay, but then we need to scale it, and we added another instance, and it somehow worked worse in the matter of speed. And it was working on two instances was less effective than working on one instance. Adding of third instance didn't do things better. And after the research, it seems we forgot about sticky sessions. Our agent sent randomly to different instances requests, and didn't use cache, prefix cache, which is used, for example, in the LLM. Because we have a complex agent, it has, I don't know, 20 requests per run to different LLMs without cache. So yeah, you need to do this, especially if your agent is high loaded and so on. And also other things, quoting different agents, prioritizing their answers, because you have not the whole GPUs in the world, NVIDIA has them, and you need somehow to prioritize runs that need to be more fast than others. So managing with local LLMs is the hard task, actually. Okay, yeah, it's an example. Yeah, it's an example of our models. Actually, right now, the best things we have is Gemma 4 and Qwen 3.5. We use them for some of agentic. Qwen is used for most of the agentic parts, and Gemma used for more for some of agentic parts too. For example, if we are talking about the voice, Gemma can do results of the voice more effectively right now than Qwen. Not voice as an input, but transcript as an input, but let's go. And let's talk about architecture of our builder. It looks like this. We are talked about builder. We talked about evaluator. We have a UI, and it's a way to build your agent from scratch with blocks to evaluate it. And inside, there are agent workers, maybe several of tens agent workers doing the agentic job, processing the requests, and they're built on top of Google ADK. Google ADK is the framework where you can build an agent, and it's good, actually. Also, they have a request LM gateway, which works with our local LMs, and it has some interfaces for tools like MCP servers, OpenApp, and so on. Let's say it's about slide is the most about agent worker, and it's what's inside, what it is. Yes, we are talking about ADK. It's just generated Python code. So we built some agent using our interface, and after that, our agent builder generates Python code, ADK Python code, and it works on the server. It works like this. So, not very okay. We're supposed to be YAML. Okay, so it's some configuration. It's directly connected to the UI. Building these blocks I showed you is translating to this configuration. And this configuration, in its turn, is translating to code. And the code runs on your work. Let's talk about ADK. So we have wrappers, business wrappers, like this builder, on the ADK, because ADK is engine to build these agents. And we need, like as a company, we need more agentic infrastructure. We need to be able to build agent easily. We need to use tools inside our company to use on-prem LLMs. And actually, our infrastructure, all those 4 pillars are needed to us as a company, but inside one of these pillars is ADK. Yeah, so mostly I talked about this. And it's an interesting question because we use a lot of features from ADK. I think we are one of the earliest adopters of it. And from the beginning, from the beginning of this year, I think we use it. And we implemented some of the features a little bit earlier than they happened to be in ADK. For example, we were very needed with session compaction and resumable sessions. We were needed to work with multiple workers. We need, of course, LLM as judge. I showed you how important it is. But ADK was growing very fast, and they implemented all these features and implemented a lot more features, which we implemented right away, which we took from ADK, getting new version of ADK, and used it right away because they were very in time for us. We are talking about the long runs and session resumption. It's an interesting thing also with output schema and how output schema is used with tools. There were some problems with it. We were struggling, and after that they were solved in some of the versions. And skills. Actually, the release of skills in ADK opened a door for us for quite wider adoption of ADK, because skills are very important for this. Skills are the pillar of using your agent, of adopting your one agent in with different teams, with different peoples in different teams and so on, because you don't need one prompt. You can separate it on skills and use it. Yeah, and also there is a very interesting thing. Yeah, it seems I forgot to screenshot a graph, but we also had one different from builder. I showed you service. This service was meant to build deterministic flows, and it was used for automatizations inside our company, like Camundo, if you know this service. It was for automatization of client support and of for optimization of some forms and sequences of forms and actions after these forms. It's totally deterministic. It's without LLM, but it's also a consequence of deterministic steps, which some of them are visual steps, and wait something and try wait for input of specialists and so on, and after that they change doing something, for example send an email or something like that. And the thing is, with the release of ADK 2.0, which happened in March or April, I don't recall then, it's in beta version right now. But with this release, we actually don't need the engine to be built with optimization engine. We can just use ADK for the same thing I told you, for the Camundo-like service, doing these forms and optimizations and so on. So it's quite interesting. We are -1 service with ADK. Thank you, ADK. And I think that's all for now. I will be more than happy to answer your questions and to give you these sweaters. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I have the last slide. I thought I forgot for this. It's a free. I on it 3 times. No, 4 times. Yeah, so sorry. Okay, so it's time for questions. Do you have any questions, guys? Yeah, I will try the thing with microphone, and let's hope it will work. Check. Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing this amazing information. It is like one of you folks probably are one of the first companies who have built a agent building platform in-house. That is amazing. Question.
Thank you.
So, question regarding the eval phase. Do you involve product owners and product managers in the eval phase, and how much input do you get from them about understanding what good looks like?
Amazing question, actually. Yes, we involve them, and we want to involve them even more, because it's not a very easy part to evaluate things, especially if your product is a complex and no one except for you knows how it works. So on the company scale, they can't just have a team of assessors who knows everything and who can assess your AI agent. We need to teach them how to do it, and it could take, I don't know, weeks, if not months. So, of course, we are involving product owners. Not everyone is happy, but they are interested if in the quality of their own agents, they're working for this product team and so on. So, yeah, they have to. So.
One more question.
Yeah, of course.
So that was about, so you had a slide where you showed there was some sort of a router which was routing between different LLMs.
Yeah.
Is that router in-house built, or is that something that?
Yeah, it's in-house built. Yes, it's in-house built. Yeah, we like ADK, but we don't let too much outsource in this matters when we can build our own. Yeah, it's a good thing, actually. It's quite a complex router for us. It took time to develop, but we can implement. But the thing when we are built it's our own router, we can implement a lot of politics inside, how to use them, how to prioritize things and so on. We are happy with. We didn't find open source solution is very good, too good for us, which can do it from scratch with this framework. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your answer, for your question. Answer was mine.
So apart from using service agents or directly using like anti-fraud assistance, is there something which Tabby is using directly for the customers, where customers directly interact with any AI agent, of course? The customer user.
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, our customer support agent interacts directly in some cases. If it's a case when it's decided or some rules decide to escalate, then it generates and escalates to human. It doesn't have its own actions. For example, it can't change your limit by itself. It can only suggest to do that. And human will approve it or not, or do it by itself. But in many cases, it answers.
Apart from just the support agents, is there anything else which is customer directly interacting with, which customer does not know?
Right now, no. But I hope one time I've showed you 3 pillars about agents and so on. And I spoke a lot about a couple of them, about operations and about agents for product development. But I hope one day we'll also have a lot of work with the 3rd pillar about AI-centered product. And I hope we'll have these agents which are product by itself, which will help you with your finance advices of, for example, of your keeping of your finances and so, or bookkeep for you or something like that. It's one of my dreams. I hope we'll do it. We didn't do that yet, and we didn't even start and so on. But I hope we'll do it one day.
Thank you very much. Actually, continuing
Thank you.
answer question. I'm curious to know how is the routing between products based in the context, it doesn't understand the prompt and so on, and based on that.
You mean routing between LLMs? Yeah, it's a good question. There is some logic, not linear logic, how to do this. So we're from the first, if everything is okay, if all our instances are working, we want we know what model we need in every LLM request. We are requesting this server instance with this model, and router just round robin it to the first model it have. But if it's an agentic run and the first question already was answered, you try to route to the same instance because it have prefix cache, and it will answer you more directly because the most of your context will be already cached. But if this instance is out because I don't know, because the server is out, for example, it will route to different instance by round robin. And it has some logic how to route if one instance is out when it came alive and so on. So there is some logic like this, but yeah, it's something about durability actually. But the main answer is sticky session, to try to route to the same instance already answered to you.
Slightly wrong. But I have another question about the process BBM. How much do you replace your workflow? You say you have many workflow, you replace some of them with
yeah, we automated several things, several internal things helping our operations in QIB, for example, and so on. We're helping, we're trying to, agents trying to get some information and have some summarization, and after that giving the result to human, which checks the result. Several of agents, I won't say the number actually, because I can't recall it, but several of them, and a lot of work to be done. Thank you for your question.
Hello, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have a question about I didn't understand about the caching. Like, do you separate the caching from the instance? Like, is the caching is related to the instance or related to the question of the question?
Yeah, it's related to the instances. It's we use VLLM as a runner of LLM models, and it has a built-in prefix cache, and it's very good. So we just use on these instances there is a VLLM prefix cache, and we use it.
So it doesn't depend on.
It's a good question. I don't think how easy it is to be done, but I think remote cache, or like you say, I don't know, maybe it can be done. But the meaning of this cache, it's very related to the GPUs and to memory inside the instance. But somehow I think something can be optimized here, I think. But I don't know the deep of optimization we can do, and we didn't do it yet. I think there are some research also on that, so you have a very deep questions, and I can't answer.
Thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you.
My question is, have you had any experience when the LLM agent does really well in staging, but it failed in production?
Yeah, of course.
What caused it and how do you fix it?
Yeah, agents can do that because of that, we really need to test it in production, not to just mindlessly ship it. Even after evaluation, with offline evaluation, we need to test it with the A/B testing and so on. And we had an experience of failed A/B testing, for example. I think it lacked several tools actually, and we didn't manage to have this in our evals, especially because evals were too outdated. And yeah, it's also important to keep your evals as up to date as possible to mock its result of tools which can be outdated and so on. And they didn't do it properly, and yeah, it answered badly.
So is the testing up-to-date evaluations?
This case was about up-to-date evaluation, but even if you have the best evaluation set, I think there is probability you will forget something else and so on. So I think you need, if we are talking about serious agents working on the serious load and doing a lot in your production, you need to A/B test it every time.
Thank you. I still have one question.
Yeah, of course.
Since Tabby operates in like a regulated market, right? What kind of guardrails is there? So the models, act as a factor. So it's not like taking money from someone and from injection.
Yeah. So there are several answers to that. Yes, first of all, it's a full on-prem infrastructure running. So just to be sure and not to share the data with anyone and so on. All the private data we are working with should be masked. Masked, right? Yeah, should be masked before analytics can see it and so on. And also, if you are talking about the abilities of our agent, you said sure not to do something, not to share or not to increase limits and so on. Every such an action should be evaluated by human if we are talking about actions, because LLMs are ML models, and ML models can fail. Human can fail too, actually, yes. There are also ML models in our deep mind.
Thank you for the answers.
Thank you
Hi.
very much.
Thank
as I
you.
understood in the beginning of the session that you are building the platform or the AI and in the plan to sell it. Was that the one on the right? The beginning, are you planning to sell the platform?
No, it's our internal thing. but I can manage to sell you ADK as an agent. So these guys will thank you me later. But I was trying to sell you ADK actually. It's an open source engine. You don't need to pay for it,
So let's step back in the email chain, which was a builder. So you showed us a builder, and there was a spec.
Yeah. I can. No, I can't. Okay.
Yeah. So there was a spec. You know what I'm talking about, right? Who writes that spec? Like, who's the intended audience of that spec?
Yeah. It's a great question. Also, the spec is created automatically. So there are two answers to this question. First of all, I showed you also a visual builder.
Yes.
And people like adding some step inside visual building or deleting it or reordering it, changing its spec by the front end. And after that, the spec is sent to the server and the code is generated and so on. So people by visual builder changing this spec, but also LLM, if you are using LLM for code or something, also can generate this spec. And it's a great question because not only visual builder, but we also can do this as a skill to some of your coding agents, for example. So this can be done two ways.
Okay, and do product teams also build the spec?
Yes, but they build product users build like moving boxes on the screen. They're not seeing the spec. but they can ask coding model just please build me this spec, and it will be built.
Actually, that image I have seen on the glass of on someone.
Yeah, it's a black screen right now. Where are you? Yeah.
MashaAllah. One of my colleagues and Christian, do you know Netflix? Yeah. Do you know Netflix? Big company that Netflix.
Netflix is yeah, of course. We want to make a series or movie. I don't know yet.
They contribute to the market so much in the scheme like I said.
Uh-huh.
You plan to share any information about the platform, how you build it, and so on, or do you plan to share the code?
Actually, I don't know how to answer this. We didn't think about this yet. We didn't think about it at all. I don't know.
Switch to open platform. I know it's the good question, but it's going to be valuable for the community. And think about
we didn't think about open source and so on, such things yet. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
But about open source, no, I'm not selling you EDK, but actually I want to share about open source a little bit about open source LLMs, because actually I think open source LLMs, right, like Yama and so on, are moving very fast in the right direction right now. We're becoming smarter, and at the same time we are becoming smaller, and it's amazing. Yeah, like on the different matter I answered, not due to your questions, but okay. Okay, so I think that's all.